Thank you all for being here. It's me, Ari Dosset, or for those that already know me, Rashid. Again, I'm right into the topic. The 5 minutes of the intro are over. In this live stream, I'll discuss an attitude that's praised by the world. I'll discuss an attitude that's praised by the world, including by the church. So there are also believers that praise this attitude. But this attitude I'm about to mention is extremely dangerous. The reason why we don't see how dangerous this attitude is because we look at the short term relief we get from this attitude. And this is the attitude I'm talking about. Not caring what others think about you. What do you say, Rashid? Rashid, did you just say that if you don't care what others think about you, that's a dangerous attitude? Yes, it is. Let me tell you why. You are a human being. You are a social creature. You cannot get all your human needs and necessities met all by yourself. So you need to be involved with other human beings. Now, your involvement with other human beings can be healthy or it can be toxic. If others are afraid of you and they get along with you out of necessity, that's likely to become toxic. It doesn't have to be toxic. For example, if you have children who are still young and they depend on you, they're relating to you out of necessity. But is that does it have to be toxic? No. That depends on how your parentship is, um, or your parent style. If you are an employer and have people working for you, they're there out of necessity because they need to pay rent. Does it have to be toxic? No. So people dealing with you out of necessity doesn't have to be toxic. But when people are afraid to treat you badly because they know it's going to be consequences, then it's likely will be toxic. Now, understand the following: your involvement with other people will affect your physical health. If the social relationships you have are not pleasant or they're not fruitful, then those relationships are killing you. Simple as that. So let's get one thing clear here. It matters how people think about you. Let's say now you walk in a neighborhood and you look a bit tired and angry. If people perceive you as a family man, then they'll think, ah, John over there, he likely came tired from work and it's a lot to do, leave him. But if people perceive you to be this weirdo, then they will interpret your behavior as predatory. They may call the cops on you, or when they feel threatened, they may do other crazy things. So the way people perceive you matters because that's how they're going to feel about you. And the way people feel about you determines how they treat you, unless there are repercussions on them. Look, let's say someone lies on you, said that you are, let's say someone comes with an allegation that, for example, that you raped someone, for example. If people perceive you as a good guy, they'll like think, what are you talking about? Where's the proof? But if people perceive you as an asshole who doesn't care about other people, they are more likely to believe the negative thing about you because they have a negative view of you. I'm telling you, the way people perceive you matters. Now, does this mean that others have a right to control you? No, they don't. Look, how others think about you, how others perceive you matters. So it's wise and practical to give a good impression to other people. It should not go so far that other people are using this against you, telling you if you don't do what we want, we will turn on you. No, that goes too far. Absolutely, that goes too far. But people have the right to expect basic things from you, that you consider their safety, that you consider their well being, and all of that. The issue in the world is that the expectations are often one sided, and that's where the problems begin. But anyway, how others perceive you matters. Ask any PR agent of any company. If a company has a bad reputation because people don't like the manager that worked there, that means that people likely avoid that place because emotionally they're not comfortable going there. I mean, if your mom and dad hate someone that works at a shop, you will likely avoid that shop too. Because let's say you get something nice and you person asks where did you get it from? Oh, from that shop. It's going to be awkward. So people tend to avoid a place or an individual that has a bad or a low reputation. So let's say you apply for a job. Let's say there are two restaurants you can work at. One restaurant has a manager working there that nobody likes, and a lot of people are upset with that guy. And then one restaurant which we have a guy working that nobody even cares about. It's just a guy doing his job. Where will you likely apply for it to work at? Will you likely work under a manager that people have issues against, or will you likely work at a place where you have a manager who people just don't even care that he's there? Where would you prefer to apply for a job? Let me know in the live chat, and let me know shortly why. I'll give you 1 minute to answer. If there are two restaurants, one has a manager that nobody can stand, the other has a manager almost nobody knows. Where would you prefer to apply? At a job where they have a manager nobody can stand in the community, or a place where it's a manager that people think, oh, it's just a random guy doing his thing? Let me know in the live chat where you would prefer to work, and let me briefly know why. I'm going to wait for your answer. So where would you want to work? Let me know in the live chat. The question was, there are two restaurants, okay? One has a manager that nobody can stand. Nobody in the community can stand the guy. And the other one has a manager, people barely know the guy. They're okay with the guy. Where would you want to work? I got one answer already. What does the rest say? All right. One individual gave also an explanation why they chose that answer. Why? The thing is, a lot of people would not want to work. This is what a lot of people do. A lot of people will not want to work at a place where you have a guy that's hated. Why? Because that means there's a negative focus in the area. And when you work there, you will receive some of that negative focus too. Some people say, you know what, let me stay there where you have a guy that's hated. Some people do that because they think, well, at least I can pick up the gossip, what goes on in the community. But it's still not a smart thing to work at a place where one of the managers is hated, because that anger against that manager, they will associate with the place, and they will associate you with the place. So unconsciously, they will become angry at you too because you remind them of someone they can't stand. So some companies go bankrupt because nobody wants to work there. So reputation matters. Now, again, it does not mean that you have to watch out so that nobody's upset with you, or else. Don't walk on eggshells. Don't do that. Now, let me tell you how far this goes. The courthouses prefer to let many guilty criminals on the street if that would give the community a good reputation. Let's say there are many criminals in a community. If the if the courthouses would lock up all those criminals, you're going to have a lot of people in prison. And at some point, it's going to be clear that there's so many people in that community in prison. That's going to look bad on the community. When things look bad on the community, things will get worse. So sometimes the courthouse will even decide we're not going to focus on those criminals right now. We're going to focus on other types of crime. Just make sure there's a good perception of the community. Look, a lot of the people out there who went missing and whose bodies were found later, they were killed, they have one thing in common. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have one thing in common. They did not care what others thought about them just before they died. Okay, maybe you're with, okay, let me give an example. Let's say you're out with your friends at a nightclub. Just using a random example now. And then in the nightclub, you have some other people coming in. And those people have issues with your older brother. Now, would you stay in the nightclub just to have a good time? Just a question to you. If you're at a nightclub, now this is just a worldly example, I know, but let's say you're at a nightclub, or maybe not a nightclub, but you're at a wedding or some other public festivity, and people come in at the same event with issues against your older brother. Would you stay at the night at that place? Well, you better not, because if those people have issues against your brother, if they see you, they'll be reminded of your brother and they'll be upset and they may try to take it out on you. But they may not try to do that there at the party because security guards will kick them out. But if they see that you don't even care that they are around, that they're going to feel hurt by that, that you don't even care about their presence. And now, instead of your brother, now they're going to be fully focused on you to teach you a lesson. Now, this often happens to a lot of young people. They went to a party, and at the party, there were some people looking angry at them, but they didn't leave the party. They stayed, and they have a right to stay because they paid to be at the party. So just because some people look angry at them doesn't mean they just have to get out of the way. Those people have to behave themselves. That's true. But what if people don't behave themselves? Some people go to nightclubs and they never come back home. They're found dead. Now this is what you need to understand. This is what you need to understand. People in the world often don't care about facts. They just want relief. And if you are perceived as someone who doesn't care about their relief, they explode on you. Maybe someone is screaming at you, arguing with you, but it has nothing to do with you. They're just upset with their employer at work and they're taking it out on you. If you act in a way that you don't care what he's going through, he's going to get more upset. Now, he has no business ventilating his unrest on you. Absolutely. He should behave. But if he's doing that and you don't respond in an empathetic way, or you don't psychologically shut him down but just turning around to walk away, if you put him in his place, he'll feel humiliated and he will see that as an attack and he'll attack you further. That's why even martial artists will tell you if someone looks angry at you or they're ready to argue with you, just smile and walk away. When you walk away, it's psychologically hard for them to come after you. Very hard. But if you stay there and you confront them, now you're participating in their unrest. And now, because you participate in their rest, they feel more comfortable offloading on you. All right, behave yourself in the live chat, please. Thank you very much. But anyway, what I'm pointing out here is that people that don't care what others think about them, they are delusional. It's delusional to think that it doesn't matter what others think about you. It's delusional. But a lot of people really believe that, don't care what others think about them. And when you think like this, you think you're a god that people can't hurt or can't harm. Because the moment you realize that you are a vulnerable creature and that other vulnerable creatures can do damage to you if they're upset, you realize that, you know what, let me check how I relate to other people properly. But people who don't care what others think about them, they put themselves unnecessarily at risk. Okay, let me give an example to you. Let's say now, at work, you're at work now, and and let's say now that you're fed up with the attitude of your manager. And one day you tell him to his face that you're fed up with his attitude, and you say you don't even that you can quit that job anytime you want. You don't even care. So as a result, the manager behaves himself. By his thing, other colleagues saw how you dealt the manager, and they feel shocked that you were so sharp and direct towards the manager. Now they're now afraid that you'll be so sharp towards them. So now they are kind of developing resentment towards you. And before you know it, you end up on a blacklist. And after your contract is over, they don't renew your contract. And now, anytime you apply for a new job, they call your previous work and you're blacklisted, so you can't get jobs easily. Now, look at this. You didn't care what others thought about you. You spoke your mind in people's face. And now you're blacklisted because you triggered unrest and resentment in your colleagues. Look, what others think about you does matter. It is not the main thing that matters, but it does matter. This does not mean that you have to become a toxic people pleaser. You shouldn't be a toxic people pleaser, but listen, people pleasing is healthy if it's not toxic. People pleasing is healthy as long as there's safety. When there's no safety, it becomes toxic. As long as it's safe, you can please other people. People pleasing in itself is there's nothing wrong with that, unless there's danger. Now look, you can refuse things from other people without saying no and without being harsh towards them. Learn to refuse things from other people without actually having to say no or anything like that. If you operate like that, you always refuse things in a empathetic way. You can refuse things all the time for other people, they don't mind. But the moment you think, hey, no means no, I don't care, I don't owe you anything, I will what I will. The moment you have this arrogant, I will what I will attitude, you trigger anger and resentment into other people. And that's going to backfire on you. Do you follow me what I'm saying here? I'm not telling you to bend over and always say yes to whatever everyone wants. That's not the way to go. But don't have this stuck up attitude, no means no, or just ignore people because you think they're important. Once you have this stuck up attitude, I don't care what you think about me, I will what I will, I don't owe you an explanation. The moment you have this attitude, you trigger anger and resentment of other people, and that will backfire on you. And let me tell you one thing, at the end of the day, nobody wants to put up with someone like that. At the end of the day, the people's pleaser is preferred. Haven't you noticed that people's pleasers tend to live longer? I'm not talking about those who are being exploited by others and their health suffers. People pleasers in general keep jobs longer. They stay married longer. They are often more invited to parties or invited to meetings. People's pleasers, even though people can be upset with their people pleasing attitudes, with an ass kissing attitude, they tend to live longer. Why? Because of their considered attitude. But here's the thing: if someone is risky or dangerous, you just walk away from them. In that case, what they think about you matters in a sense that they think that they have a right to victimize you. So then you realize, okay, then this individual is dangerous. Okay, so that's why I keep my safe distance from them. Simple as that. Even Jesus himself asked the disciples, "Who do people say I am?" Why did Jesus even ask the disciples, "Who do people say I am?" Then there was another time when Jesus said he wouldn't go to a festival, but he went anyway afterwards. He changed his mind. He went anyway, and he went undercover just to pick up what people were saying about him. Why did Jesus go undercover to find out what others would think about him? He already knew what they would think about him because he's God. He knows everything. He did this to show us an example. It's important to consider the perception of others concerning you. If you don't know, if you don't have any clue how others perceive you, you are in danger and people can take advantage of you. Maybe people someplace can't stand you, but you're not aware of this because you don't care what people think about you. Then one day you're invited to speak at a congress, whatever, and you speak there, and after you leave, you have all these psychic attacks on you because people couldn't stand seeing you there. Or maybe people don't even perceive you as an enemy, but because you think they don't like you, you tend to avoid them, and now there's confusion. What I'm saying is the perception of others is not of main importance, but it does carry some importance in your life. Absolutely. We are told to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Why did Jesus say be innocent as doves? Remember, a dove is not perceived as a predator. A dove is perceived as an innocent bird. A dove is perceived as harmless. Jesus said, be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. That means trigger others to perceive you as a non threat, as far as it depends on you. If people decide to project their negativity on you, that is not your fault. There's nothing you can do about that. But as far as it depends on you, be as innocent as a dove in other people's perception. As simple as that. Let me tell you, some believers think that they're facing retaliation because of their faith walk, while they're really reaping the consequences of their careless and reckless attitude. There's a difference between facing retaliation for walking by faith and people turning on you for being reckless and careless about their feelings and how you affect them. No human being should be nor feel comfortable around someone who's reckless towards how you make them feel. Now, of course, if someone has emotional issues, they should face it. They shouldn't expect you to bend over and make sure they are at ease on the inside. Just because you have the obligation to consider how you make others feel does not mean that you are responsible for them not facing their emotional issues. If someone has an emotional issue, you consider it and how you communicate with them, but it's on them to admit they have an issue and look for help. If people refuse to face their own issues and now they put restrictions on you so they are at ease, I'm sorry, but that goes too far. That's different. But apart from that, you should be considering how you make others feel. That is wise, that is intelligent. Too many believers are following this. What other people think about you is none of your business. You shouldn't care what others think about you. Too many believers are following that narcissistic philosophy. And in their daily life, they get into a lot of conflicts with other people they could have easily avoided. Look, being a toxic people pleaser is one extreme, but it's a whole nother extreme when you are neglectful and careless about how you make others feel. No human being should tolerate such behavior and such an attitude. Again, that does not mean that others have a right to control you just to make them feel at ease. Nobody has a right to restrict you just so they can feel in control. If people want to feel in control just to compensate for the lack of self-worth and they want to put restrictions on you just to feel in control, okay, that's something you should not accept. You should just walk away from such an individual. But if it's not to control you, but it's just a natural concern, then you can give in to them. There's no need for boundaries and principles and all of that. Just be flexible and realistic on how you relate to other people. As simple as that. Look, this is why sociopaths often succeed in what they're doing. Because the sociopath understands that other people's perception matters. The sociopath goes so far that he will manipulate the perception of others to trick people to do their biting. And that's how the sociopath often gets away with what they're doing. Do I approve what a sociopath is doing? Absolutely not. Nevertheless, the sociopath uses basic emotional intelligence. Now, the sociopath himself lacks emotional intelligence because that's why they are reprobate. That's why they're a sociopath. But they use emotional intelligence when it suits them. And let me tell you one thing, all your blessings and breakthroughs will relate to other people. All your breakthroughs and blessings will relate to other people. So it's extremely important for you as a believer to have a healthy dose of emotional intelligence. Let me tell you, you can be, let's say that you are a car mechanic. You are the best car mechanic in the country, and still your business can go bankrupt. Why? Because every time people are around you, you're quite blunt towards them. And they feel like they have to walk on eggshells because you may say something that may hurt their feelings out of the blue. What happens is they stay away from you, and your business, you lose customers. So you can be, for example, you can be a car mechanic, the best one in the country, and still your business will go bankrupt because people don't dare to come near you because they feel like they have to walk on eggshells because you're just blunt all the time. You're not very considerate of how your words and your attitudes affects other people. Then you may think that Satan's attacking you, attacking your finances. No, 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 no. It's not Satan attacking your finances. You have a reckless attitude that you need to be delivered from. Sometimes believers sabotage their own breakthrough by having a careless attitude. So unlearn this nonsense that the world taught you. Unlearn this, what others think about me is none of my business attitude. Unlearn that. Unlearn this, I don't care what others think about me attitude. That attitude won't bring you far in life. It will not. That attitude will be a hinder unto you. It'll be a hinder unto other people. You will lose social relationships. You will lose the trust of other people. And you'll be perceived as either narcissistic or as unreliable. So a lot of believers have to do the inner work. A lot of believers have a lot of inner cleansing to do. Because look, if you are always that blunt and all of that, it means you're just um, that means you just have a narcissistic attitude to yourself because you just don't want to put up with anything that's not your will. And that's not how you should operate as a believer, not even as a human being. Look, whenever you get upset or annoyed, ask yourself why. Self reflect. If there's no danger, you have no business being annoyed nor upset. If there is danger, peacefully leave the situation. As simple as that. Look, sometimes you have people who want to press charges in a courthouse against someone, where someone slandered them or lied on them or whatever. Sometimes even the police tells you, are you sure you want to press charges? Because here's the thing. Once you press charges and it goes to a court case, many people hear about what happened to you. You have to go through the trauma over and over again. And even if you win the court case, you'll be remembered as someone who went through all the effort just to prove a point. Now, some people may understand this, but listen, if you go into a court case and later this destroys your reputation because the people who perceive you as a troublemaker, what is when that court case going to benefit you? Let me tell you, sometimes you just have to shut up, suck up what happened, even though it wasn't right, and keep on moving. I'm not telling you to approve victimization. I'm not telling you to approve abuse nor exploitation of you. What I'm saying is, it's not always worth it to address the wrongs done towards you or the wrongs that are going on. Sometimes you need to stay quiet and walk away from the situation. If the situation is toxic, why are you still in it? People that have this, I don't care what others think about me attitude, they also often think that they have to stand their ground and they need to defend themselves or need to protect their self respect. Let me tell you, when a situation is toxic, peacefully exit the situation. It will save you a lot of headache, heartache. It will save you a lot of finances. It will save you maybe even days or months in the hospital recovering from physical wounds. It will save you a lot of trauma. It will save you a lot. When a situation becomes toxic, just take a deep breath, remain peaceful, and peacefully exit the situation. Just come up with an excuse that you need to leave. That's just what you do. Learn to shake the dust off your feet. Sometimes believers, when they feel wronged or when something awfully wrong happens, they explode on the situation, ready to fight. That attitude won't benefit you in the long run because you'll be seen as a troublemaker and a fighter. And nobody wants a fighter around in the long run. People want to be around those who are peaceful. Simple as that. Even in the Old Testament, the book of Prophets says it is an honor for a man to avoid strife and arguments. If you're a type of individual and you are never seen arguing or fighting with people, others will treat you with honor. People will honor someone who is not escalating all the time. If you're, for example, there was one time this woman, okay, and she was a churchgoer, and she was known to have a big mouth. She would tell it to your face when you're wrong or whatever. Then there was this other guy who was also a churchgoer. Anytime people acted dumb or said something wrong, he would just pick up his bags and leave. One day, that woman in church told the man, "Look, sir, that's why people perceive you as weak like that. Because people only have to scream at you, look angry at you, and you pick up your bags and leave." Then the churchgoer told her, "Okay, yes, that's true. That may be weak of me that I just walk away all the time like that. But look, haven't you noticed that people still greet me when I walk outside? People don't even have a small talk to me. Haven't you noticed that people often avoid you when you walk into a room? Haven't you noticed that often people get frowned when they see you? They do not happy to see you at all because everyone keeps complaining that you're arguing and fighting all the time. That's what I mean. This church-going woman, she thought standing up for herself and putting people in their place, all of that was the right thing to go. She said, "I don't care what others think about me. You're not going to walk over me." This self-defense attitude she had triggered, how do I say, People got fed up with her because here's the, at the end of the day, a lot of people don't really care what happened to you. They just want to be at ease. I know it's wrong, but that's how a lot of people are. But the other guy, but that guy who just walked away all the time, yes, it was perceived as weak, but at least everybody go he went, he had there was a good report about him. There was never any complaints about him, whatever. Look, am I telling you to bend over and allow people to just slap you around? No. Neither does Jesus tell you to do that. I'm just telling you, exit a toxic situation peacefully. That's what you need to learn. You have nothing to prove against anyone. You have nothing to prove against anyone. What will it benefit you if you win the argument, but now nobody wants to deal with you because people are hurt because you were so direct? Or what if the individual that you put in his place suddenly picks up a knife, begins to stab people because they are ventilating that they cannot get to you? All those other people that get stabbed are going to blame you for triggering the narcissist. Even though it's the narcissist that explode and stab people, they will say, if you would just shut up and walk away, the narcissist wouldn't have been triggered. And if it wasn't triggered, it would have stabbed us. People are going to blame you. So that's how you need to become. You have to look at the bigger picture and decide to do what works best in the long run. Not what feels right and not what is right, but what is best in the long run. Again, many of the people that went missing and were found dead, someone killed them just to take out their pain. And that pain, the killer or murderer has no excuse to kill them. So I don't approve of it. Nevertheless, that individual could have prevented being killed if they would just left the toxic situation alone. People don't want to be confronted with reality. People just want to escape and be left alone. So when you confront them with the facts that they don't want to face, they're going to blame you for how they feel. And indeed, you trick them to feel bad because you force them to face things they don't want to face. So if you force them to face things they don't want to face, they're going to blame you for how they feel and they're going to take it out on you. As simple as that. So stop being so blunt and direct towards people and consider who you have in front of you. Let's say someone is suicidal because they're mentally broken down, and you just tell them to F off because you want to be left alone. Let's say this individual ends up harming themselves. Who are they going to blame? You. Because you could have realized this individual is not in the right state of mind. This individual needed help, but just ventilate on them by saying you want to be left alone, and all of that. So people are going to blame you for it because you triggered a mentally ill individual who needed help into harming themselves by you being harsh towards them. And you could even go to jail for that if they charge you. So this whole being blunt and direct attitude, cut it out. Jesus never told you to be blunt and direct towards people. He told you to be wise as a serpent and innocent as a dove. Look, what I'm teaching you here goes contrary to what society is teaching you. Society is promoting this, I don't care what others think about my attitude. But what society is promoting is getting you and others killed. There was also this guy. There was this man. He was from the Dominican Republic. This man was always blunt, and he was ready to fight and scream at you if you challenged him. Later in life, he was crying. He was depressed because he had no friends. Nobody wants to deal with him. His 15-year-old son told him that. That's why I'm not copying your behavior. Because since I was growing up as a little child, I could see how angry people were with you. And I thought, I don't want to end up like that. So the 15-year-old son saw the error of his father and said, I don't want to do that because I don't want those consequences. So that is why have a proper attitude when you deal with other people. This I don't care what others think about me attitude, A, it will only get you in trouble, and it will also cause those around you to be viewed in a negative daylight. Because when people view you in a negative daylight, they'll also view those around you in a negative daylight. So cut that attitude out. It will not benefit you at all. That I don't care what others think about me attitude is like a drug. You get a high from behaving that way, but then the consequences are long term, and you can't take back the words and actions you've put out there. Remember that. You can't turn back time. You can't unsay or undo what you've done and what you've said. So beware. Look, as long as Jesus didn't come back yet, there are going to be messed up people here on the earth. And some of those messed up people, you'll be involved with them. As simple as that. So don't fret about, just learn how to deal with messed up people. Simple as that. If you can't deal with them because they're dangerous, then you move away from them. As simple as that. God did not give us a spirit of fear, but He gave us a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. A sound mind implies common sense, and it's common sense to consider how people receive you. It's common sense to also want to remain at peace with others as far as it depends on you. We need to have a sound mind as believers. We can't have this intoxicated, relief seeking attitude of the world and expect things to work out well for us. That's not how it works. You have a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. A sound mind, a healthy understanding of the situation you're in. That's what we need as believers. So, I hope this is clear to you. Again, this is a short live today. It's far less than an hour. Again, do you understand what I've explained here? If you have any questions concerning this topic, please ask them now. Thank you very much. I'll wait till I see your questions. Look, even when you have the proper attitude as a believer, you will still face retaliation. But please, when you go through retaliation, look, let me say like this: you will face trouble during this lifetime. If you face trouble, let it be because they retaliate against the light inside of you. Don't let it be because there's some darkness in you that they are clicking with. When you face trouble in life, let it be because they are fighting the light inside of you. Don't face trouble because they click with the darkness in you. That's why you have to be purged from every dark way of thinking. That's why self-reflect, fast and pray, so you're purged from every dark mindset. Look, when you walk in the power of Christ, some people will attempt to bring you down to a low vibration. That's true. In that case, you laugh it off and continue. Look, I'm not saying you should control how others think about you because you can't do that. That's impossible. I'm not saying you should be guided by how people think about you. You just have to consider how to think about you, and as far as it depends on you, manage their perception of you in a proper way. That's all. Look, your human health, psychological health, physical health depends on how you relate to other people. So being antisocial, hating other people will not work. Being a toxic people pleaser and being kicked around by other people's wishes is also not the way to go. You need to learn to operate in a sound mind. Praise the Lord. All right. Well, that's it for now. Again, it was a short life. Thank you all for being here. Keep on agreeing with Christ. Be at peace. I'll see you all next time.